received a call regarding a James Sheaffer who was being reported missing.
I ended up not staying out that night and I went home because he called me. And that was the last time that I talked to him.
Did you discover anything about Jimmy that suggested what might have happened to him?
Jimmy had been reported to have had some issues with gambling, drug use.
When did you learn that your dad had been murdered?
My mom just didn't want to share the details with us. Like, I heard it from someone else and I broke down. The whole family suffered. We lost everything. My dad was a provider. We lost the house. We didn't have no car. My mom's life was just falling apart, man. I feel so bad. And I know he would have been a good grandpa.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Deltona, Florida. A beloved husband and father disappeared, sending only a few texts to his family. His vanishing act had police baffled until a hunch led them to a bizarre relationship. What they uncovered shocked the community and led to a grisly find. Deltona, Florida, just south of Daytona Beach. 36-year-old Jimmy Sheaffer hadn't returned home from his limo driving job. It was completely out of character, and his family was worried.
I was at a friend's house staying the night. At that time, I was 16, so I was a pretty reckless kid. My mom had my dad call me, and he told me, "Nick, your mom is worried about you. Please get home, son. I'll be home late." I ended up not staying out that night, and I went home because he called me. And that was the last time that I talked to him.
The next morning, Jimmy Sheaffer still hadn't come home. After a second day of being missing, Jimmy's father called police.
We received a call regarding a James Sheaffer who was being reported missing. His family hadn't heard from him. He had left and gone to work and had not returned home.
We were worried, but we were getting texts. I think he was saying he had to skip town. I gotta stay on the low or something like that. And we were all kind of like confused by that.
At the time we looked at the text, there really wasn't a big alarm that he may have been in danger. And the only thing that was out of context to how he normally was that they weren't in line with his normal communication.
The police came to our house and they were basically pressing my mom, interrogating her, thinking that she had an idea of where he was, especially since my grandfather all the way in Pennsylvania was the one who reported him missing. Second stop, the police went to the limo owner's house, and that's where my dad's truck was still parked.
Jimmy's vehicle was parked outside, didn't have a flat tire, it didn't look like it was broken down, so it didn't make sense that his vehicle was still there. We did not locate his cell phone within the vehicle.
At that point, they were kind of like just still pressing my mom, pressing the limo service, like asking him like where could he be. I believe they went even to maybe the customer that he was out with that night at the limos.
Did you discover anything about Jimmy that suggested what might have happened to him?
Jimmy had been reported by his coworkers, his boss, and his family to have had some issues with gambling, high-risk behavior, drug use. So it was the missing person part of this became a little bit more alarming when we learned some of his lifestyle habits.
Meanwhile, the toll on the Sheaffer family was growing by the hour. They knew he would call them unless he was unable to.
My mom, she was going through a lot because my dad was the main provider. She is basically doing everything now, but at the same time, the cops are asking her questions and following her everywhere she was going because they, that was their only lead still. But then they found the truck, like all this happening within one day.
So at this point in the case, were there any suspects in his disappearance?
We started to believe that anyone that he was involved with that had a negative relationship became a suspect for what you will.
On a return visit to the Sheaffer residence, a hunch led cops to speak with a neighbor, 42-year-old Angela Stolt.
Angela Stolt was in her yard across the street. I had gone over and just asked if she had known Jimmy, her neighbor, and if she had seen him at any point in time in the recent week. And she said she had not.
Maybe my mom said that they talked once or twice, and so they went over there to ask her if she's seen anything. They were just looking anywhere, so he maybe was just going over there to see, does this lady know anything?
We learned that Angela was actually connected to Jimmy's bank account. And I found it very odd because in the manner of which Angela was describing her relationship while our conversation was short, she kind of gave the impression that she really didn't know who he was. And that triggered some alarms. So I leave Jimmy's home by myself and I decide that I'm gonna go back across the street and get the real answer from Angela as to what her relationship with Jimmy was. I went up to the front door and I knocked on the door. So Angela opens the door and starts to talk to me through the crack in the door. My first question to Angela was, is Jimmy in this house? Are you hiding Jimmy? She said he was not. I asked her to come in and she denied me entry into the home.
Suddenly, the disappearance of Jimmy Sheaffer took on an alarming urgency. Angela Stolt had access to Jimmy Sheaffer's bank account. Jimmy was missing, and Angela refused to speak with the police.
I am convinced that she is very much involved. She's lied to me once. I know she won't let me in the house. So at this point, my questioning to Angela became very pointed and very direct. And she understood that she was now part of this investigation. I truly believe that she knew what happened to Jimmy.
Do you know if Jimmy's alive or dead? What's that mean? You shaking your head?
The investigation into Jimmy Sheaffer's disappearance had blown up, and then the family got a text from Jimmy.
After we spoke with Angela, we're still receiving messages from Jimmy's phone at this point. So we believe now Jimmy is alive. We are more concerned with trying to find him and to get him out of the danger that he is presenting in his text messages.
Police had a suspect who they believed knew what had happened to Jimmy, but she wasn't talking.
Me and my mom were so confused to the point where we thought that maybe he was just leaving the family. The last thing we want to think was that he had passed.
Volusia County sheriffs learned that a neighbor across the street had access to Jimmy Sheaffer's bank account. It was a stunning development that gave the investigation a laser focus.
This case, it was like a roller coaster. We went in every single direction.
Me and my mom were so confused to the point where we thought that maybe he was just leaving the family. The last thing we want to think was that he had passed.
During that time, we are doing subpoenas on telephone records, on bank accounts, both his accounts, Angela's accounts. We have now had missing person bulletins out. We don't know where Jimmy is. We do believe that he's in trouble. And we don't believe that we're getting all of the right information from Angela.
Police considered the possibility that Angela and Jimmy have been doing more than balancing his checkbook.
Angela was asked if there was a romantic relationship between the two of them.
What's the relationship between you and Jimmy? Just friends. With benefits?
She eventually had alluded to the fact that they may have shared a kiss, but never stated that there was any full romantic actual relationship between the two of them. She had also admitted that the relationship with Jimmy was a friendship and that they did recreational drug use between the two of them.
Did your family wonder what your dad's connection to Angela was?
My dad was definitely a social butterfly. That he was outgoing, funny, laughing, the whole nine. And so him talking to her did not seem irregular to anything. Of course, he's going to talk to his neighbor across the street. We didn't know they were doing anything else besides that.
With Jimmy now missing for several days, Volusia County sheriffs knew Angela Stolt was hiding something. It was time to raise the stakes. They confronted her with Jimmy's disappearance.
Is Jimmy dead?
I hope not.
Do you think Jimmy's dead?
No.
Why wouldn't you think Jimmy's dead? Give me a reason why you don't think he's dead. I was very specific with Angela and told her that I believed that Jimmy was dead, and that if he wasn't already dead, that if she didn't assist us in finding him or telling us where he was, that he would end up dead and that she would be responsible. She got very quiet, and you could tell that that statement impacted her greatly.
She was probably going through what they say, the guilt and everything like that, and she vented to a family member and said something about killing herself, and they actually told the police, and the one detective who had a hitch originally was like, okay, yeah, we're going back there.
Angela had arrived at one of her family members' home, and she had confessed to her family that she had killed Jimmy Sheaffer. So they called 911.
The secret Angela had been keeping from police spilled out in a flood of guilt and horror. And what she confessed to was far more than forging a check.
Angela stated that she was angry with Jimmy overdrafting her bank account, and she had wanted to make him feel how she felt being lied to consistently.
So you wanted to turn the tables and lie to him?
At that point, I was so fed up with his lies, and he wanted me to ask my father for $2,000 to cover his thing. His rent, yes.
Okay.
I'll ask. He was like, thank you, you know. Mm-hmm. He said, I'll even give him my title.
Title to what?
To his truck. I wouldn't ask my dad for him. I just wanted to lie to his face and see how he felt.
She lured him to the cemetery in Osteen, where she stated she drugged him, she strangled him, she took a ice pick that she had stabbed it in one of his eyes, and she removed that ice pick and then stabbed it in his other eye. She then had saran wrap, and she stated she wrapped Jimmy's head with the ice pick still in his eye and drove him home to her house, where she opened the garage and utilized a kiddie pool and pushed Jimmy out of the car into the kiddie pool.
And what did Angela say she did with the body after that?
She used a hacksaw to cut him into pieces to make it easier to spread his body around. She stated, the day that I had come to speak with her the first time, there was smoke inside the home because the arm of Jimmy was in her oven, and the head she had been boiling on the stove.
Angela Stolt told cops she placed the body parts in bed sheets and plastic garbage bags. And with the help of her children, they spread the remains in the cemetery and remote sites.
Angela was asked if her children knew, and she stated they did not.
Police embarked on the grim task to retrieve Jimmy Sheaffer and to notify his family.
We found in the bags a pot that had the remnants of Jimmy Sheaffer.
Angela Stolt, Jimmy Sheaffer's neighbor and co-signer on his bank account, had confessed to killing him. It was one of the most horrific crimes in Florida history, and it was still unraveling.
My mom didn't even tell us originally because it was so horrific. She just said, your dad passed.
After Angela is taken into custody, she tells investigators that she has killed Jimmy and had dumped his body around the county, and said she would show investigators the different locations of where she placed different pieces of evidence throughout the county. Ultimately, when they did the search warrant on the home, I immediately noticed that there were no bed sheets on the bed. And I had said to her, "Why do you have no sheets on your bed?" She didn't really have an answer for that. Later on at the Osteen Cemetery, we found in the bags the bed sheets, along with a pot that had the remnants of Jimmy Sheaffer.
So at that point, you knew where the body was. But then how do you explain the text that Jimmy's family was getting from a cell phone?
She actually kept Jimmy's phone outside of the cemetery, and Angela actually would drive into Orlando area, power his phone, make text messages utilizing his phone while her phone was still in Deltona, as to elude the law enforcement from believing that Jimmy was not alive.
The whole family suffered. We lost everything. My dad was a provider. We lost the house. We didn't have no car. My mom's life was just falling apart, and I feel so bad thinking back on it, how much she was going through.
Angela Stolt was charged with first-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. For the Sheaffer family, the horror that Jimmy was put through continued to haunt them leading up to the trial.
I believe my mom just didn't want to share the details with us. And so, I heard it from someone else, and he was like, "Hey man, you heard what happened to your dad?" And he just told me or something, I think, and I broke down.
What began as a mysterious disappearance had turned into a chamber of horrors. Even hardened cops were shocked by the cruelty Angela Stolt inflicted on Jimmy in life and in death.
I would say that Angela Stolt is absolutely a monster, and believe that her acts were definitely the worst I've seen in my career.
Thankfully, she would be held accountable for what she did, but it would be little consolation for the Sheaffer family.
I will always wonder what he would have done if he was still around, and how he would have been with my kids, and I know he would have been a good grandpa.
Angela Stolt pled not guilty to murdering James Sheaffer. She claimed self-defense and that he attacked her, but the jury didn't buy it. She was found guilty of murder and abuse of a corpse and sentenced to life without parole. Angela Stolt has yet to express any remorse for what she did to Jimmy and his family. And now it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. Jimmy Sheaffer's death is a cautionary tale about how a gambling debt can turn deadly. Statistics show up to 20 million Americans have a gambling problem. Gambling addiction is said to be a, quote, silent killer and can lead to financial and legal problems, strained relationships, increased withdrawal, depression, and suicide or murder. But help is available. If you suspect that you or someone you love has a gambling problem, call the National Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-GAMBLER. They have centers in all 50 states and can provide assistance and resources. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For everyone here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.